I am really stacked up here. Hi guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you've never seen me before, my name is Lauren, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. You should definitely subscribe while you're here because I'm new to YouTube, but I am cranking out videos. I have read a good chunk of books. I'm not on my grind the way I was in high school, but in high school I grinded out so much that I tried to like fuel that back into 2020 and start reading again, which I did, and I finished some books. But I'm just here to talk about all the books that I've finished that I now own, because I've read a lot more books than the ones I have read and owned, but I didn't buy them because I didn't care so much. But a lot of books I have read, some even for school, and I bought it and I reread all the time and I love it. So I'm just gonna tell you guys all about it today. I have like 3 sections of bookshelves. This top one I've read Flux from. I don't think I finished anything else from up there. And then down here is all the books I finished. Over here are all books too that I have not finished. There's just a bunch of like novels and some journals and stuff like that. I have a hell of a lot and I've only read like a third. So yeah, I'm just gonna go in order and rate them all 1 out of 10, 1 being like the most boring book I've ever read and 10 being the best book I've ever read. Okay, so first up I have The Notebook. I know it's a real book, it's not just a movie. Is this upside down? Yes, I loved this book. I read it back in middle school, I believe. Same with A Walk to Remember. I'm just gonna kind of chunk these two together. These 2 books by Nicholas Sparks, of course, have become movies, and everyone has probably seen the movies, but the books are so underrated. I mean, I bet they're like rated like the best books ever online. I think these books are phenomenal. If you liked the movies, you should definitely read the books. I read them a while ago, so I don't remember a whole lot of detail from them, but I remember feeling like the same emotions that I felt when watching the movie, which like for books, I mean, I feel like that's kind of obvious, but at the same time you could definitely be like disconnected, but they were so good. I'm gonna rate them both a 5 out of 10 because they were not my favorite books ever, but they definitely, like, I'm glad I read them. They were kind of easy reads too. Next up I have the infamous Perks of Being a Wallflower, baby. This is bringing back a lot of emotions just looking at the, I have sticky notes in here. I read this book in either 8th grade or high school. I read it before I saw the movie when it came out. I lost my mind because the book gives a few different details than the movie. It's hard for me to rank this because the movie is one of like my favorite movies, but this book is also one of my favorite books and I can't pick which one I like more. But I'm gonna give this book a solid 8 out of 10. It was literally one of the best things I ever read, and you should definitely read it even if you've seen the movie because it changes the whole game. It's kind of a funny story. This is also now a movie, and the movie sucks. Hot take, it sucks. They tried to make it a comedy and it's not funny. So apparently, since I've only ever read sad books, I'm just gonna continue with all the sad books I have. I read Go Ask Alice in 1 day. I remember I had like a pop quiz freshman year of high school, and this, like, I finished it really fast. It was like a half day or something, and so I only had like that one class for the day, so I was there for like maybe 2.5 hours or something, and then we just went home. It was one of those dumb half days, and I read this book in that whole day. It's like an easy read. It's just kind of like journal entries, and I actually bought this afterwards and I reread it last year or the year before, and I think I started to reread it again because there's still a bookmark in there at like the almost end, but I did finish it I guess a few times now. This book broke my fucking heart. Oh, did I even rate this? Let me go back. This was a 9 out of 10 because it still broke my heart, but it's not my favorite book ever, but it used to be my favorite book ever, you know. It's still high up there. Rest in peace, Ned Vizzini. I'm so sorry. This book talks a lot about drugs and drug addiction. If you've read the book, you know. It's so interesting to hear from like a... Do they even say how old this girl is? She's like a teenager and she's like struggling hardcore with like addiction, and it's just so crazy to hear like a different side of like a life I've never experienced. Like, I smoke weed, but I've never been like one to do hard drugs and whatever. It's just so sad, and like there's such a drug epidemic going on in this world. I will give this book a 7 out of 10 because I think it was really good, but I don't think it was one of my favorite books ever. We all know and love it. Looking for Alaska, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because this book changed my life when I was in middle school. I will never forget the day. Looking for Alaska, Starts with before, and I'll never forget it. I was in high school or 8th grade, don't remember. And I was living in my old house with my parents, and I ran down the stairs after I finished the whole before part. It was like the day of. And I was like, oh my god, like I love this book. It's just, they're gonna be so amazing. Like they just, I'm not gonna give it away, but like all this stuff happened. I was so excited. I came downstairs and I was like, yeah. And then I read the after. I was like emotionally unstable more than I am now in middle school / high school. I cried every day for like 2 weeks about this book. Like I couldn't even finish I mean I did finish the book, but for a while I couldn't even finish the book because I was so distraught about what had just happened in the after part. Like if you read it, like you know, I was so torn up over this. I would just sit there at my desk and like cry about this book, and everyone's like, it's a fucking John Green book, and I'm like, you don't understand. And like John Green was like the teen angst king, you know? I do not own A Fault in Our Stars, but I borrowed it from my friend Holly's sister who had a book collection that was pretty huge. And that same thing happened. Like something about John Green, he just hits different. And I like remember reading that at my desk. I would reread it to make myself cry, and then I'd cry the whole school day in middle school, I remember. I don't know why, I just remember it was the same time Obama was reelected. Weird. But I was so fucked up over these John Green books when I was a kid. Like, I know y'all can relate. So now we're gonna talk about books that aren't depressing. Next, I'm gonna talk about another movie, a book that's become a movie. Call Me By Your Name, the Great Motion Picture. Thank you. This book, I'm gonna give a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed reading it. I bought this at an airport in Greece when I was on my way to, I'm gonna make a story time about this one of these days, but I was on my way to Samos from Paros Island via airplane by myself to stay for a weekend with a Greek military man. I'm gonna make a story time, okay? I knew I needed a book to read because I was going by myself and I was only gonna see him for like a day or two, and I was gone for like 5 days. And so I bought this and I finished half of it that whole time. Like I remember sitting in a park just reading this. There's like a stray cat like sitting on my lap. Bliss. But the book, like, I'm not gonna say it was boring, but it was hard to keep my interest. I don't know if it's because I watched the movie before I finished reading the book or what, but it was just kind of like hard to keep reading. Like I felt like it was kind of redundant and like, I don't know, but it was still phenomenal. And I think the movie did a really good job at capturing the same emotions from the book, which I think is really rare. Kind of the same thing with Perks of Being a Wallflower. Like I think they portrayed it very well. That's what happened here. I'm gonna talk quickly about Untamed because I kind of talked about it already a lot. This book was definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. Again, not my favorite book ever, but it was great. I think the one critique, if I can make a critique, is just kind of like, I wish there was a little bit of surprise in the book. Like Glennon was very straight up with what's about to go on, and I respect it too because it's like there's no spoilers really. But at the same time, I wish there was like a little bit that I didn't know was about to happen, whereas I kind of knew like from the jump like what was going on throughout the whole rest of the book. So it was kind of like, even though it was a really easy, quick read, and it was definitely engaging, I felt myself like the same thing with Call Me By Your Name. Like I was just kind of like bored after a while, where I was like, okay, like. But I still like, her writing just takes me away, like a solid 9 out of 10. We all know and love Eat, Pray, Love. This book is bent the fuck out of shape. Like no one should be able to bend a book like this, but I literally could sleep on this like a pillow. There's actually still like notes in here. So Eat, Pray, Love was just as good as everyone says it is. Like I want to reread it even though I've read it twice. I just have a problem. When it comes to books, like it's kind of like songs and movies and shows. I won't watch anything new or anything like that. I'll just keep listening and watching and reading the same shit because I like comfort and not stepping out of my box and trying anything new. Okay. Eat, Pray, Love, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. One of the best books I've ever read. The emotion that this woman captivates. Obviously, I believe it's a true story, right? Pretty sure this is a true story. Correct me if I'm wrong. The way she writes and the way she feels everything and writes about every single detail of how she feels is like, the way she articulates her words and like, oh my god. I started reading this book in high school and then I finished it in college because I just kind of sat down and never finished it, but once I picked it back up, I read it again in full because it was so lovely. Like I literally have so many notes in that book. I'll just keep going back to that book. And Elizabeth Gilbert is just the best. She's the cutest little woman ever. I follow her on Instagram. Same with Glennon. They're friends and it's just so cute. Following along with Elizabeth Gilbert's lovely novels, I'm gonna talk about Big Magic. So Big Magic, I'm also giving a 10 out of 10. This book I flew through, but then again, I reread it. There's no notes in here, which I'm surprised about, but I definitely have pictures like all over my Visco to like try and remember what she was saying. It's literally just like a power up book, like a you got this book. Like it says for creative living beyond fear, and it's definitely for like authors and artists and all of that. Like it's just the exact book you need to like hype yourself up and be like, you know what, I'm gonna do my thing. If you like want to do your side hustle, like this book will convince you to just do it. I loved it so much. I'll talk about it for the rest of my life. Same with Eat, Pray, Love. Elizabeth Gilbert, the way she does her shit, it's just in her bag, bitch. Like she's in her bag and she knows it. I hope she knows it. If she doesn't know this, I hope she sees this and she knows. You're in your bag, bitch. These two books, so far, my favorites. Yeah. Next I'm gonna kind of jump into poetry books. Big poetry I'm gonna start with Orion's Flux. Orion, I'm now reading Film for Her by her, but Flux was her first poetry book that she released. I also have like sticky notes in this too, because I'm obsessed with like going back to things, like I said. Flux, I'm gonna give a good 7.5 out of 10 because I loved it. I loved it to pieces. However, there was like, I don't know. It's like a pretty thick book for her first book. I'll give her all the props. It just wasn't my favorite book. But I thought it was so lovely and I think everyone should definitely read it. If you want to borrow my copy. Yeah, it was lovely. For you guys, it's been like 2 seconds, but I keep talking to my roommates in between all these clips, so the lighting keeps changing. Sorry. I'm back. Continuing on with poetry, I'm going to talk about Two Fish by Jhene. I think I'm saying her last name wrong. I do it every time. She released a small little poetry collection. It's all just kind of like journal entries and like little writings too, and then like actual pictures from her journal, which I think is so freaking cute. However, her poetry is kind of like simplistic, and so it's kind of not my vibe. I'm more of like a Walt Whitman type beat. Like I can go into him later if you want. It wasn't my favorite book, but I love her so much, so I copped. It was like really cheap at like a thrift store I always go to. But I still love her. It's not like this book made me hate her or anything. It just wasn't my favorite, so I'm gonna have to give it like a 5 out of 10. Oh, if God forbid I ever blow up on YouTube and she says this, I take it back. Like I just love you still. And I want like a sequel because I feel like this is kind of the same as Flux. Like it was her first book for what I know. And I mean, it was a poetry book, don't get me wrong, shit was rhyming, but I just wasn't touched the way I was with a lot of other poetry books. I guess I don't know what else to say. I just feel bad rating it so low considering I love the shit out of this woman. So yeah, please don't kill me. Okay, let's move on because I'm scared. So here I have a stack of books. I've yet to finish the full thing, but I have read a lot of excerpts from each of the poetry books. So I'm gonna start with the best loved poetry of the American people. I got this thrifted. I think it was like $3, like hardcover at Savers, and it's huge, like absolutely massive. There's literally poetry from everyone under the sun in this book. In the front, it will divide up the poems by like topics, so it's like love and relationships and love and friendships and inspiration. It breaks it all up for you, which I love. It doesn't just break up by poets, because I feel like if you did it like that you would definitely miss over some great poems. So yeah, this book I can't rate because I'm not done, but it's fucking fire. Like look how many poems you get, bro. I of course like tagged a bunch of pages, but yeah, phenomenal. Next up we have my queen, Maya Angelou. Yeah, this is just some of her best works. I also got this thrifted. I'm literally a thrift god. And I do have like a little tab because I've been like skipping around because I'm a slut. This has all the flames in here. I don't even think you can rate this woman. This was also a pretty nice book I got thrifted. The Happiness of This World by Carl Kirchwey. Yeah, it was cute. I don't think I finished it. It was good. I mean, I copped. Yeah, I'm not done, but I would recommend still. Again, I have more poetry. I think I got this from my college. You really can't go wrong with all of these giant poetry books unless you don't like poetry. But again, I have my girl Emily Dickinson. This was a quick little book here. I don't remember if I read the whole thing, but I should. It's literally 50 pages. Lastly, I have Sunrise by Frederick Seidel. I don't think I've touched this yet. I also have this book, Small, and who's it by? Jhene and Staw. Holy guacamole, this book is wonderful. I used to work, I also need to make a job about all the weird side hustle jobs I've had. I used to work, I would drive my car to like Lynn or somewhere like North Shore area, and I would whip my car over there and pack up my whole Jeep with flowers to sell at recitals. That they had permission to go to these recitals and sell like flower bouquets and stuff like that, and it was all cash under the table, and I would be whipping around Massachusetts, and I'd bring books and snacks throughout the day, and I'd just chill at recitals like during the dances. Like it was pretty dead because everyone was watching the dance, no one was in the like hallways really. But I just remember reading this during so many days of this like 2 summers ago, and I need to go back and finish it. However, one of the best things about this book is that it's not like, it's kind of like essays, like little blips. It's so great. I would recommend. I haven't finished it, but I've read about half, and then I do this with a lot of books. I'll literally just put them back down, which I have a lot on here that I'm like, yeah, I just put it back down. But this I need to finish. Ew, it says my college name at the bottom. I'm gonna go look at that. Yes, Bad Feminist, baby. I love this book. I was told by so many people like it's just a stupid book for school, like blah blah. And I remember getting into it. It was just so good, and I didn't expect it was a book for school. And then I went in like on that first year seminar, like, what up? Like, this book was fire. I'll tell you this, and everyone's like, I didn't read it. And I'm like, I did. I loved it. And they're like, Becky, and this is why I have no friends from college. Okay, I'm also not gonna rate that because I didn't fully finish it, but it was flames. Another book I didn't finish was The Devil Wears Prada. We've all probably seen the movie, but I haven't because I was gonna watch it after I finished the book. And I got halfway through this stupid book and it was so boring. Like I will rate this one a 2 out of 10. I'm sorry. I thought I was gonna love it, and I thought I was gonna finish it, and I thought I was gonna be like vibing, but I was not vibing. I was so bored. I guess I didn't really give it the chance because I didn't finish it, but at the same time I was so bored that I was like, I can read something better right now. Maybe I'm not meant to read this or watch it or anything. The book just fell in the trash, so that's fitting. Another book I've yet to finish is 50 Shades of Grey. I bet we've all seen the movies. I bet y'all read the book, but I have not finished it, and I was getting into it, and then I started reading it in places in public, and I felt ashamed because I was like 20 at the time, and granted I'm 21, it's not a big difference, but I just feel weird reading it in public, so I feel like I need to read this in the privacy of my home and like have no one know about it and like lock in like a lockbox after. I remember reading an excerpt from this a couple years ago, and I like was hooked. I was like, this is pretty fire. And so I've been trying to finish it. Obviously I'm slacking, but I mean, it's really good. I think it's better than the movie, even though the movie actor and actress are. Another book I've yet to finish is Awakening the Buddha Within. I have notes with a tissue. This book I got really into for a while. Obviously I didn't finish it, but I got this at a thrift store in Vermont a couple like 5 years ago or something like that. I loved the cover. I was like really into Buddhism at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna be a Buddhist, and I'm not a Buddhist currently or ever, but I was really down with the Buddhism theories, morals, I don't know, and I was getting down with it. Again, like I just get bored kind of easily with books. That's kind of embarrassing because I'm 21. I should be able to fucking read a book, but I do just be getting bored. So again, like the last 4 books, I need to finish it, and then I'll give you a proper review. So the only books left really on that bottom shelf that I've actually fully finished include a dictionary, the thesaurus, a pocket thesaurus. Didn't read the full thing, no shit, but and then I have A Light in the Attic and Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. Those were the books that got me into reading when I was a kid. They got me into it. I was like, yes, I'm in 4th grade and I'm an author now. And I've been writing ever since, honestly. But Shel Silverstein, sorry, I'm playing with my nose ring. That man sent me. There's a song called Sick, I believe, or something like that. I'll look it up. I memorized the whole thing. I still kind of remember it. Like, I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy and McKay. I had the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. Like, all these excuses for why she's sick, and then at the end it's like, oh, it's a Saturday, I'm going out to play, and it's so cute. I just love it. But yeah, I mean, I finished those books when I was like in middle school, maybe elementary school. They were great, and the other books down there are chicken noodle soup books, which I also loved when I was a preteen / teen. But yeah, now on to the last 3 books that I just use as like reference. So this book, I have a Bernie sticker on it. Love him. 75% off, baby. This book was like $4. I got this at some like crystal store called Beyond the Matrix, and it's by Patricia Corey, excuse me. This book is actually from a bunch of interviews, and they just kind of wrote down like the conversations in here, which I like because I feel like reading it makes it more digestible than a conversation sometimes, because I can go back to it, whereas like a conversation you're gonna forget. However, I bet these interviews are somewhere on the internet that I could find. But this book, I started reading it and I'm not done because it's just all theories, but I'm like in the middle, okay, when she can read. This book is wonderful. It's literally talking with all these scientists about all these theories of the world, and like there was this like 10 dimension theory I still think about every day of like, if you take a fish out of water and like it'll look around and be like, where the fuck am I? It's kind of like us, like we're only living on this one dimension, but if they were to take us off Earth, it would be like, what's all this stuff? Like we'd have no idea. Like I don't know. That's my type of niche. Like my brain just be popping off. This again is kind of like the book's small. It's just you want to read it in like little excerpts so you can digest it better. And I love that because I clearly can't read a full book in a day. I can't even read a full book in a month. 10 out of 10 for right now, even though I'm not done. Another random book. This isn't even like a reading book. I have a pencil in there, but the Signs and Symbols source book. I got this at Barnes & Noble back in like 2015 or 16. It was on one of those shelves for like 10 bucks. You know those like at the beginning where they won't sell, so they'll down sell them. I don't know why no one was buying this. It has a bunch of signs and symbols and flower signs and like religious signs and like the explanation and like pictures of them. And this is where I've gotten the ideas for so many of my tattoos. Like I have my pencil in there because I be sketching at the same time I'm reading all these flower facts. I'm like, do I want that flower on me now? Which was actually part of my like design around my foot. I love that book. It's not like a reading book really, it's just kind of like a resource book, but it's wonderful and I think you should all cop. My last book I'm going to talk about today, because I still have probably like 30 books around that I'm looking at and I'm like, sorry I'm not talking about you right now, I'm not done with you, or I haven't even picked you up. That's embarrassing. This last book I will talk about is the only astrology book you'll ever need. I feel like this is just kind of OG astrology bitch vibes. This book is massive, literally massive, and it tells you everything you could ever need to know about you, your loved ones, your relationship with your loved ones, your haters, everything. And it's the best shit ever because you learn so much about yourself and your loved ones, whether you believe in astrology or not. Keep that to yourself. You don't need to shame me in the comments, but I am quite the believer of some things from astrology. Like I feel like your daily horoscope is pretty stupid, but I feel like signs and like how they act, they do be lining up. Like the memes, I'm like, I do know some Leos that do be mean, and I do know some Tauruses that I hate, and I do be falling in love with all the Pisces. It just happens. Like some shit is just like too ironic that I'm like, I feel like that's pretty accurate, especially when I see stuff like on TikTok of like underdeveloped and like not developed and developed, like of each sign, because I'm an Aries, and I feel like I don't act like an Aries except for in my like fieriness of like how hype I get for stuff, but I don't really have anger problems. Today I was really fucking pissed at work, but I'm on my period. I'm not like an angry, malicious person, and I feel like a lot of Aries are stereotyped as that. I do have a lot of traits of like my moon sign and the rest of my chart. If you go into like the whole thing, I could go off. Don't really want to, but this book has really helped me understand myself, my loved one. It really told me a lot about myself, which I knew, but it like validated it and I felt better. So although that is not all the books I own, that is all the books I'm going to be talking about today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't boring. I hope you learned about a book that you haven't read before, because I feel like a lot of these are like mainstream books, but some of them are little gems that I wouldn't have caught unless I was thrifting in I found them. So yeah, I have a lot of reading to do. Eventually I'll get it all done. Maybe in a few months or like a year, I'll have a new set of book reviews for you guys. I think, leave in the comments if you would be down for this. I've talked about this before. If you think that I should do individual book reviews like per month, like if I read a book in the month and I like sit down, I'm like, disclaimer, like don't read this book if you don't want, like don't watch this video if you don't want spoiler alert, but I can dive deep into different books. If you guys would like to be in a little book club with me, we can all keep each other accountable, let me know. I would be so down. I need a book buddy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.